What if everything you think you know about yourself is actually a carefully constructed prison? A beautiful, elaborate cage that you've been living in your entire life without even realizing the bars exist? Today, we're going to shatter those invisible walls and reveal something that will fundamentally change how you see yourself forever. Right now, as you're watching this, there's something extraordinary happening that you've probably never noticed. There's a part of you observing these words, processing these ideas, experiencing this moment. But who is that observer? Who is the one behind your eyes, witnessing your life unfold? That question is about to unlock everything. You see, most people go through their entire lives believing they are their thoughts, their emotions, their roles, their achievements. They think they are the voice in their head, the story they tell themselves, the identity they've built over years of conditioning. But what if I told you that this entire sense of self is actually a false construction? A kind of psychological costume you've been wearing so long. You've forgotten it's not who you really are? By subscribing, you're not just joining a community of seekers, you're acknowledging your own deepest calling to recognize the truth of what you are. You're saying yes to freedom, yes to authenticity, yes to the extraordinary recognition that you are consciousness itself exploring its own infinite nature. The false self seeks. The true self recognizes. Which will you choose? If this journey into the mysteries of dreaming awakens something within you, don't let it end here. Tap the link on your screen or in the description to watch my next video, where we go even deeper into the hidden truths of consciousness. And before you drift away, make sure to subscribe to Arcane Horizons, because the next mystery awaits you. This isn't just philosophical speculation. This is about recognizing something so fundamental, so liberating, that once you see it, you can never unsee it. We're talking about the difference between who you think you are and who you actually are. And that difference? It changes everything. The false self is like a character in a play who has forgotten their acting. You've become so identified with the role that you believe the character's story, limitations, and struggles are your true reality. But behind that character, behind that mask, is something infinitely more vast and free than you could possibly imagine. Think about your daily experience for a moment. You wake up and immediately step into your familiar identity. You are someone with a name, a history, particular preferences, specific fears and desires. You carry this sense of being a separate individual everywhere you go. But have you ever questioned whether this feeling of separateness is actually real? Or is it simply a very convincing illusion? Consider this. When you were a young child, before language fully developed, before you learned to think in words and stories, there was still awareness present. There was still someone home, so to speak. That pure awareness, that fundamental consciousness that was there before your personality formed, that's still here right now. It's been the constant backdrop of your entire life, watching everything unfold like a silent witness. The false self is essentially a collection of mental patterns, learned behaviors, and conditioned responses that have crystallized into what feels like a solid identity. It's made up of your memories, your beliefs about yourself, your social roles, your achievements and failures. All of these elements are real experiences, but they're not your true essence. They're more like clothing you wear, not your actual skin. Here's where it gets fascinating. This false self doesn't just limit you with negative beliefs. Even your positive self-concepts, your proudest achievements, your most cherished identities can become golden chains if you mistake them for your true nature. Whether you think you're successful or unsuccessful, spiritual or material, good or bad, all of these are just different flavors of the same fundamental misidentification. The truth is, you are the space in which all these identities appear and disappear. You are the unchanging awareness that has witnessed every phase of your life, every emotion, every thought, every experience. That awareness doesn't age, doesn't struggle, doesn't need to improve or achieve anything. It simply is, perfectly complete, eternally present. But here's the beautiful paradox. Recognizing your true nature doesn't diminish your human experience. It actually enhances it dramatically. When you stop being so tightly identified with your thoughts and emotions, you can experience them more fully because you're not constantly defending against them or trying to control them. Life becomes more vivid, more spontaneous, more authentic. Let me share a practical way to glimpse this truth right now. Close your eyes for a moment and notice what's here when you stop focusing on any particular thought or sensation. There's a quality of open, spacious awareness, isn't there? That awareness isn't thinking about anything. It's not trying to be anything. It's not worried about the future or regret about the past. It's just pure, peaceful presence. That's a taste of your true nature. The false self is constantly busy, always seeking, always trying to become something more or different. But your true self is already complete. It doesn't need to achieve enlightenment because it is the very consciousness in which the search for enlightenment appears. It doesn't need to find peace because it is the peace that exists before any disturbance arises. Now, you might be wondering, if this is true, why does the false self feel so real, so compelling? The answer lies in understanding how identification works. From early childhood, you learn to identify with your body, your thoughts, your emotions. You learn that you are a separate entity navigating a world full of other separate entities. This isn't wrong or bad. It's actually necessary for functioning in the world. The problem arises when this functional identity becomes an absolute prison. Think of it like this. An actor playing Hamlet might become so absorbed in the role that they forget they're acting. They start believing they actually are the Prince of Denmark, carrying all of Hamlet's sorrows and struggles as if they were their own reality. The solution isn't to become a bad actor, but to remember the fundamental truth. You are the awareness playing the role, not the role itself. This recognition brings incredible freedom because suddenly all the problems that seem so personal, so defining, so permanent, are revealed to be temporary experiences arising in awareness. Your anxiety? It's a cloud passing through the sky of consciousness. Your depression? A storm that comes and goes, but never damages the underlying space in which it appears. Your achievements and failures? Beautiful waves on the ocean of being, each one unique, each one temporary, none of them defining the ocean itself. But let's get practical here. How does this understanding change your daily life? First, it dramatically reduces suffering because you stop taking every thought and emotion so personally. When anger arises, instead of thinking, "I am angry," and getting caught up in the drama, you recognize anger is arising in awareness and can respond more skillfully. When fear appears, instead of believing, "I am afraid," and being overwhelmed, you see fear is appearing and can acknowledge it without being consumed by it. Second, it increases your capacity for genuine compassion. When you recognize that everyone is fundamentally the same consciousness appearing as different individuals, the barriers between self and other begin to dissolve. You start to see that everyone is struggling with the same basic case of mistaken identity. This naturally gives rise to patience, understanding, and kindness. Third, it makes you more authentic and spontaneous. When you're not constantly trying to maintain a particular self-image, you can respond more naturally to each moment. You're not asking, "How should someone like me respond?" but simply responding from wholeness, from presence, from your true nature. The false self lives in time, always referencing the past or projecting into the future. It's made up of memories and plans, regrets and hopes. But your true nature exists in the eternal now. It's only in the present moment that you can recognize what you really are, not through thinking about it or analyzing it, but through direct, immediate recognition. Here's a simple exercise you can do right now. Put your hand on your chest and feel your heartbeat. Notice how you don't have to think about making your heart beat. It just happens. Notice how you don't have to remember to be aware. Awareness is simply present. In the same way, you don't have to create or maintain your true nature. It's the effortless, natural state of being that exists prior to all effort. The journey from false self to true self isn't really a journey at all. It's more like removing clouds to reveal the sun that was always shining. It's not about becoming someone different, but about recognizing who you've always been underneath all the layers of conditioning and identification. The sun doesn't need to learn how to shine. It just needs the clouds to move away. This understanding challenges one of our deepest assumptions, that we need to improve ourselves, fix ourselves, become someone better. While there's nothing wrong with growth and development, the foundation of all true transformation is recognizing that your essential nature is already perfect, already whole, already free. From that recognition, any changes that happen occur spontaneously and authentically, not from a sense of lack or inadequacy. You might notice some resistance to these ideas, and that's completely natural. The false self has been your companion for so long. It can feel scary to question its reality. It's like discovering that the person you thought was your closest friend has actually been wearing a mask this whole time. There might be a sense of loss, confusion, or even fear. But what's actually happening is that something artificial is being revealed so that something authentic can emerge. The beautiful truth is that you don't have to eliminate the false self or wage war against your personality. You simply need to stop mistaking it for your ultimate identity. Your personality, your roles, your human story all continue to exist, but they're held much more lightly. They become expressions of consciousness rather than limitations on consciousness. They become the way awareness experiences itself as an individual human being, rather than a prison that awareness is trapped within. This shift in perspective changes everything while changing nothing at all. You're still you, but you're you from a place of freedom rather than compulsion, from wholeness rather than fragmentation, from presence rather than the endless seeking of the false self. Life becomes a dance rather than a struggle, an expression rather than a problem to be solved. The false self asks, how can I get what I want? The true self recognizes, I am what I've always been seeking. The false self says, when I achieve this or overcome that, then I'll be happy. The true self realizes, happiness is my natural state, temporarily covered by the seeking itself. The false self believes, I am a separate individual in a hostile universe. The true self knows, I am the universe experiencing itself as a seemingly separate individual. Right now, in this very moment, you have the opportunity to step out of the false self and into your true nature. Not by doing anything or achieving anything, but simply by recognizing what's already here. The awareness reading these words, the consciousness experiencing this moment, the presence that has been with you your entire life. That's who you really are. This recognition doesn't require years of practice or special abilities. It's available right now because it's what you are right now. The false self might argue that it can't be this simple, that surely there must be more work to do, more steps to take, more problems to solve. But simplicity is often the mark of truth. What you're seeking is not hidden in some distant future or buried under layers of complexity. It's the very consciousness that's seeking, the very awareness that's investigating its own nature. Some people worry that recognizing their true nature will make them passive or disconnected from life. But the opposite is true. When you're not constantly defending a false identity or trying to improve an imaginary self, you become much more available to life, much more responsive to what each moment actually requires. Action arises spontaneously from wholeness rather than compulsively from need. Others fear that without the false self, they'll lose their motivation or ambition. But what you actually lose is the desperate, seeking quality that makes all ambition feel like suffering. You might still pursue goals, create projects, and engage with life passionately, but from a place of fullness rather than emptiness, play rather than desperation, love rather than fear. The truth beyond the false self isn't a concept to understand, but a reality to embody. It's not about perfecting your spiritual practice or achieving some special state. It's about recognizing the extraordinary ordinariness of your true nature. You are consciousness itself, temporarily appearing as a human being, playing in the magnificent theater of existence. As we come to the end of our exploration today, I want you to know that this conversation is really just the beginning. You've been introduced to something that has the power to transform every aspect of your life. Not by changing the content of your experience, but by revealing the context in which all experience arises. You are not the wave on the ocean. You are the ocean appearing as a wave. You are not a drop in the universe. You are the universe appearing as a drop. The invitation now is to live from this understanding, to let it permeate your daily experience, to see how it changes your relationship to thoughts, emotions, other people, and life itself. This isn't about believing something new, but about recognizing something timeless. This isn't about becoming enlightened, but about realizing that consciousness itself is already enlightened, and you are that consciousness. Take this recognition with you into your day. Notice the awareness that notices everything. Rest in the presence that's always present. Be the space in which all experience arises and dissolves. You are not stuck in a false self because you are not the false self at all. You are the infinite awareness in which the false self appears like a temporary cloud in an endless sky. If this exploration has resonated with something deep within you, I invite you to continue this journey of recognition with us. Our channel is dedicated to pointing you back to your true nature through different angles, different approaches, different invitations to wake up to what you already are. Each video is an opportunity to remember, to recognize, to come home to yourself.